UNPAVED, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback.
29-year-old Sean Salisbury, his second start as a National Football League quarterback.
Welcome in on a Thursday. Hell, opening day of baseball. Yeah, it's today. While the Yankees kicked ass last night. Welcome into Unpaved. I'm Sean Seggs. Will be along in a second. At Sean Unfiltered, at Adam G. Sager. Great to be with you. Love our Thursdays because basically it means Friday's the next day. But this is a unique Thursday. We talked about, I did last Thursday and Friday being the best in sports during the weekday. You can argue Augusta, Thursday and Friday. That's coming. This is a great month. Great 30 to 45 days. Spring training over, Major League Baseball starts. We got college basketball continuing. We're down to 16. By the end of the weekend, we'll have the 4 set. I'm pumped, and I love it, and there's so much to discuss. But I will tell you this, Segs, come on in. And I think, and I know there's a time and a play, we'll get to it during this show. Baseball misses the mark with opening day now. And old heads, new heads, I don't care. They miss the mark. That's not the way you do it last night. It's the way you play if you're the Yankees, but that's not the way you do it. But we'll discuss that. And I think there's a lot of manufactured shit that goes on with sensitive people on television and radio that we're to the point now where you create it, you know it's coming, and you create it for likes. That's where we are in society. You'd rather drive by somebody in society now. If a car's burning, you want to know who died in it. You're more intrigued with the burning car in your video and the controversy or the horrific stuff that goes on than you are the person who got out of their car, jumped in and saved a person in a burning car and got out and lived to tell about it. That's great. But what about the people in the car? Why'd they die? Were they fighting? How'd that car catch on fire? And that's the way it is in television sports. The more you can fight in-house and the more you can create controversy in-house, I don't think you can sustain good stuff that way. That's just my opinion. Hardcore takes are important, but how we create fights, among broadcasters and analysts and manufacture it like this fake, outrage over somebody. I don't give a shit what some guy who doesn't know as much as me thinks about my football or baseball or basketball breakdown. If he wants to fight, we'll have a good one, but I just smirk at it and go on because I don't know enough about his job either. And if I did, he probably does it better than me. So this fight among analysts and stuff, it's absolutely baffling to me. I get it because that's the society we live in. But you know what? I just assume when they say take the high road and you're missing out on content. Well, fuck you. If your content isn't good enough to overcome not having to fight with somebody, then your content sucks ass anyhow. It's the way I look at it. But if that's what you got to drive them to it, that ain't something I'm into. But I'm going to let it rip today. Not on somebody, on the whole situation. I can't wait to get into it, Segs. Good to talk to you as we open up a Thursday, which is a great one with all the sports we got going on.
Yeah, it's already March 26th. It's opening day, as you said, for all of baseball today. So we'll get into that and our predictions in just a little bit. But yeah, we start with Dan Orlovsky, who we talked about, who has Ty Simpson ahead of Fernando Mendoza. He says he's talked to multiple organizations who have the same feeling as him. Well, he went on Pat McAfee, which he does a lot. They're on the ESPN colleagues. He went on the show to talk about his, having Ty Simpson above Fernando Mendoza. And did Dan Orlovsky say a couple things that you maybe kind of make you think like, what is he really talking about? He said something about big games that Mendoza hadn't played in when yet he was in the college football playoff and played in a national championship. And Ty Simpson didn't. But I think they just started going at it. And Pat McAfee almost tried to bully Dan Orlovsky, which I think made him look very, very stupid. But before we get your reaction, Sean, let's play part of the video and go ahead and roll it, Bailey.
On the ground, saw Fernando through the biggest games, and it's just like everything about him just screams.
What biggest games, Pat?
Huh?
What biggest games?
The college football playoffs.
Now you're playing possum.
No, you're right. Those SEC games are bigger than the fucking playoff games, Dan.
Am I allowed to ask questions and have an opinion
They
as well?
played each other head to head.
Okay, Dan, do you just have so the college football playoffs a big mockery, a scam, doesn't mean anything. These games just don't matter. Like, what do you mean? What are the biggest games? They have a full fucking committee. They have billions of dollars in TV rights for what the biggest games are.
Okay, and so no, I'm aware of that, dude. Like, you guys, okay, so in the biggest games, so the college football playoffs started, and they played opening.
Well, you can
their
start at
opening
the Big
game
Ten
was
championship, I guess. You can say Big Ten.
Okay, Big Ten championship. Okay, Big Ten championship. In that game, they're down 13-6 going into the fourth quarter. Indiana.
And then what?
Boom.
So do they
then
win
what?
the game?
And then what, brother?
Yes, but
We're talking about all the moments. You're talking about traits. It's like, okay, how about 2nd and 17?
6 points through the first 3 quarters. People.
Ohio State's defense is a historic defense. Like, what are we even talking about?
People crucified Arch Manning for doing that on the road.
Crucified Arch Manning. Arch Manning's not a part of this conversation.
Well, if you go by that too, like Indiana beat Alabama, 38-0. I mean, it's
Yeah, so we're just picking and choosing.
No. You
Yeah. And this is why people say you're getting paid to do this. You know what I mean, Dan?
No, because I'm giving you factual information, not opinion. They had 6 points through the first 3 quarters in the Big Ten title game.
Against Ohio State, look up who their defense is. Look up what that defense is. That's like one of the greatest defenses in the history of football. And then what did he do? Then what did he do, Dan?
The biggest moment.
And what did he do, Dan?
The biggest court.
Charlie Becker.
He threw I think he threw the post to start the second half, which is a great throw and a great recognition.
And a huge moment after getting beat, so mental toughness is there. And then obviously being able to take a shot. He cracked his rib on the first play. I mean, there's just like, because then you're going to hold injuries on the other side. It's like, well, how about first play, a Big Ten championship guy gets this and then takes 2 plays off. Wow, I just got cracked. No pause, he said on our show. And then he jogs back out there. It's like, is that not a trait? I don't know. You tell me.
Of course it's a trait. No one's questioning if he's a tough guy or a good player.
All right, Segs, there's the layers to this. I have zero problem with Pat bringing him on and questioning him hardcore because I see way too many pussies interviewing people, asking the question, answering it for them, then asking the question again. 90% of the media, I'm sorry to tell you, on television, has zero idea how to ask a question. They act as if they're asking the question and they're the analyst. I'm not talking about this. He went at it, Dan, for Dan's hardcore opinion at this time, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
it's a good thing, and because you want validation, but you got to let him talk and then you can respond. That's the only other thing. But it's Pat's show and I get it. But there's some rights and wrongs here, and I'm not sitting on the fence. Listen, let's break it down. The better quarterback in college was Fernando Mendoza. We talked about this the other day. Fernando Mendoza, for us to say he didn't play, and my affinity for Pat McAfee, I think he does a great job. He's created an incredible media empire. And Dan Orlovsky really is, when Dan's at his best, and he's got the telestrator and he's drawing up plays and do it. Dan doesn't need to backpedal at all for this. It's his opinion, and that's okay. But when you say he made more big-time plays, Fernando Mendoza didn't miss. He may not have made 40 throws in one game, but when it mattered, and we say on what platform, well, the biggest in the world. You won the Big Ten championship. You went on and won the national championship. You played in the playoffs, and you won the national championship. He may not. So what are you looking for? It's a team game. Are we looking for the Dan Marino that has to throw for 470 every week to win? Or are we looking for a guy who, if you ask him to throw 18 times, he wins? If you ask him to go down the field after taking a sack and beat Penn State on the road in Happy Valley, regardless of who they are, great. If you're asking him to beat Ohio State, hell, Field Yates has, 3 through 6? Ohio State in their draft. So Ohio State's good. Point is that if we're parlaying this into the NFL, and I do, listen, anybody that thinks Fernando Mendoza is not tough or not a good football player, it has not studied their craft. Neither one of those guys are saying this, and neither is Orlovsky. He thinks Simpson's going to be a better pro. And I tend to agree with him over the long haul. And even if he's not, they can both be really good. The value of first pick versus the 20th pick, is there going to be that major distance at the next level? Well, it all depends on players around him, Segs, the organization. There's a lot that goes into quarterback, unlike a right guard. If you're a dominant right guard, you're going to dominate no matter what, if you're a great player. Doesn't matter how good your team is. But a lot of times a quarterback's dependence on 10 other guys matters. If you're a defensive tackle and you dominate your guy, even if you're 1 in 16, Segs, we're going to call you a great player. If you got a bad team around you, look at what happened to Geno Smith. Seattle, good team. Raiders, bad team. Now he went from being a journeyman to a really good Pro Bowler to a journeyman again, and now he's on the Jets. My point here is, as a college player, Fernando Mendoza, under what that football team asked and needed, was as good as we had in the country, hits a Heisman Trophy, and he didn't get his team crushed at any point this year. He did everything that was asked of him. But I understand it changes all the time, of parlaying it out. So the better college player was Fernando Mendoza. It's just a fact, Heisman Trophy or not. But that doesn't mean that Ty Simpson isn't going to be the better pro or somebody watching all the throws. But to say, and I love Dan, but to say like more big throws in big time games, well, that's not true, because I can show you regular occurrence on the other side, what Ty Simpson did, but also what Fernando Mendoza did of making great throws under duress. I think we have a hard time buying into the, put it this way, if Mendoza was on Alabama, let's reverse it, not Simpson on Indiana, Mendoza on Alabama, he would have had to make the same throws and the same decisions that Ty Simpson made. And I still think that Ty Simpson would have been good enough to take him to a national title, but we don't know because he wasn't in those situations of pressure packed in the national title game. I thought Mendoza was phenomenal this year. I don't argue the fact that in an NFL system, depending on what the system is, that Ty Simpson has a chance to be a better quarterback. And I believe the value for a guy in the 20s, the distance between 1 and 2 is closer together than the distance between 2 and 3 in this draft. Yeah. I think it's a huge margin between 2 and 3 going in. Who knows what Klubnik or anybody like that's going to do Nussmeier. This is a great argument, debate, as long as it doesn't get personal. I think Dan talking about, I think people thinking that Dan's suggesting that Simpson made more clutch moments. That's not true, because his team was watching the national championship game and Indiana, but it's Dan's opinion. I can go on and show you the tape that Mendoza, the question, could Simpson have made every single throw Mendoza made against Penn State, or the back shoulder throws? The argument's there, and that makes for great debate. But when it's, well, they were down 13-7. How many points they scored in the first 3 quarters, I don't give a shit about, Segs. I care about the end result, and we always talk about quarterbacks being able to overcome bad things and be good. I thought Mendoza did that just fine. They were pushed to the brink in certain moments this year, so the argument's good. There are some NFL people, Segs, I'm just telling you, that think Ty Simpson's a better player than Fernando Mendoza. Just like the Raiders think that Fernando Mendoza is better than Ty Simpson. Where it gets lost in translation, the better college quarterback to the better pro. Systems matter. That debates every single year. Every single year. Hey, half of the country had Arch Manning as a hack 5 games into the year this year, Segs. And we know that's not true, and we know he can play and probably going to be the first pick next year if he has an average year because, well, he's a Manning and he's a good player and you know he'll be prepared. In this case, just the constant back and forth, I get the banter, but I think a lot of it's hyperbole. I do. I think it's hyperbolic. Dan may believe it and stress why he thinks Simpson's a better player. Don't back off that. Go for it. But how you phrase it, to me, he thinks Ty Simpson's going to be a better player, but are we really sure that Ty Simpson is going to? I don't know. And none of us do, because we've seen the first picks of the draft end up as not very good. Jamarcus Russell, and we've seen 5th-round picks or 6th-round picks like Brady become Hall of Famers and the best ever. So in this case, it's okay to have the banter. Why? But how you explain it? Well, this guy didn't make any throws. Well, the biggest pressure games you have to deal with Ohio State. You have to beat Alabama. You got to win a national championship game against this team. You got to beat an Oregon team. Think about all that Mendoza did. And part of being a great quarterback is knowing where your lane is in that particular moment, that particular series, that particular game. Because you can make all the throws doesn't mean you need to make all the throws. Sometimes the check down's just good enough to keep the chains moving and you might have missed a big play. Right. But that's what was needed at that point. So listen, value-wise, argue it. Some are going to say the 20th or 25th pick, you get more value from Simpson than you would at the first pick and turning your franchise over. I think Mendoza's going to need a good team around him. I don't think he's Rodgers that's going to carry you for 15 years without good players. But that's a very limited group of guys, Segs. So the argument's there, and I know there's other questions about going in about this, about his agency, which I'm sure you're going to ask with Orlovsky, the situation with who he's represented by, and that both good players and both can be true. Both can be great players. He thinks Simpson's better, more value for me at that. But do I have a problem with Mendoza going? No, but I would still entertain people calling me with the first pick. And I find it fascinating when somebody says that there wasn't big games, because Fernando Mendoza played in the ultimate big game. Didn't get his team hurt on his way to the national championship.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other teams that can't say that. Most of them. Both are good players. Mendoza's a hell of a player and had a hell of a year. The question, who's the better pro? I already know who the better college player was. That was obvious, and it was Fernando Mendoza.
I want to ask you something about Mendoza in just a second, but let's pay off this Pat McAfee, Dan Orlovsky thing. You hit it right. Almost your first sentence, I think it was. If you're going to have somebody on your show, you're going to ask them a question. Let them fucking talk. Like, you don't have guys on here, when we have guests, when we had Kirk Herbstreit, you didn't ask him a question and then 3 words in, cut him off and be like, but this, or, keep repeating yourself over and over and over. That's where it comes off making Pat McAfee look like an idiot. I mean, you got your producers, your other guys on your show talking while Dan Orlovsky's talking. Not only you are doing it, but the other people on your show are doing it. And it makes McAfee and his entire show look like, oh, if you don't agree with us, we're going to berate you until you either do or you just stop talking like Dan Orlovsky finally did.
Right. You cower and you say, okay, enough, let's go. And you end the interview. For me, it's ask the question, let him answer, ask the next question, let him answer. And then when he's off, you get your whole other hour to ask, to banter about it.
Then you can
that's why you have a guest on. But I do like that Pat went at Dan hard. But if you're going to go at him hard, let him come back. And then you can respond after the interview's over. I learned that from Dan Patrick. You don't need to ask long questions, or let him go. And then if you don't like what he said, follow up with a question about what he said, but let him answer. But I like that he went at him hard, because it's important to do that, or we don't get the answers we need. The softball shit, and most people in the business don't know how to ask a question.
Yeah, and then a question from Dr. J, and it's something I had jotted down, because in the interview there, that clip we saw, he says, oh, this is why people think you're getting paid for this opinion.
Right. See, that's
where Dan Orlovsky and
too.
Ty Simpson are both represented by CAA, same agency. And you can go back and you see this happen a lot. People always love to bring this up. They love to bring up, oh, what agency you are. Now, yeah, when you're looking at which coach is going to be hired, yeah, it makes sense to see who the GM is, run by, whose agent is, or whose the agency is. And then same thing with coaches, because a lot of times those guys will kind of match up, and that's how they get their ends. But when it comes to media, how does representation, in your opinion, or what you've seen in the past, affect this type of stuff when it's a Dan Orlovsky or whoever talking about a certain player in the NFL or in the NFL draft with the same representation?
At no time in my career has a mic been on in front of my face where I have spoken on better or worse about somebody because they did or didn't belong to the same agent I did or do at any point in time. Secondly, I could tell Pat this, even though he's not CA, and I could tell Orlovsky this, and anybody who's pigeonholing them into this. Orlovsky being the guy who's being questioned here because Ty Simpson and him, CA. CAA is bigger than Orlovsky, Ty Simpson, and Pat McAfee combined. When it comes to the big scale of what CAA does, small, while Dan's important in the scheme of what they do at ESPN, in the big scheme of things, Dan's opinion of Ty Simpson and hiking him up isn't going to do one damn thing for CAA. To me now, put it this way, if he was getting paid, let's say, well, Dan, we'll give you 5% if Ty Simpson's a top 10 pick with your pub, 10% of his signing bonus coming out of ours at CAA, which they wouldn't do conflict of interest. You should fire him on the spot.
Yes,
I'm just telling you, because it tells me that anytime it's coming down, you're protecting buddies. I can't fathom that Dan went on the air and said, you know what, Ty's a CAA guy. He's my guy, so I'm going to do it. As long as he shows me the facts that he's just talking that he thinks he's a better player, great. But you can't back off that down the road. I find it absurd. To me, I'd like to hope, and I might be wrong, Sigs, not just with Dan, with anybody, that is represented by the same people, that we, and I know that journalistic integrity, listen, Dan Orlovsky's not a journalist, and neither am I. Even though my degree says I am, on television or this, we're entertainers. We give opinions, we're hopefully
analysts.
Based on fact. That's exactly right.
You guys know the game. You know what's on the field.
Mike Lupica's a journalist.
Yes,
that's exactly. Ed Werder's a journalist.
Yes.
That's exactly right. So Marty Smith, while he entertains, is a journalist.
Yeah.
Holly Rowe, the people who write for papers and magazines, and those are journalists. We're entertainers. And anybody that thinks different, or if you're one of those guys, I'm a journalist, get the fuck out of here. Nobody's paying. You're not a journalist. You're giving an analyst, and you're giving your analysis on the rest, on how you feel about somebody. But if this was, and I don't believe it is, that CAA said, go and do this, and Dan said, yeah, what's my cut? Like a finder's fee in business, then you ought to run him off the set, because now you can't trust him. Integrity's gone, and you can forget it. His integrity's not gone if he actually thinks that Ty Simpson's a better player than Mendoza. Get in line. There's plenty of others that do. But I understand why people think it creeps in with this. This is not an overly outlandish take like the 19th best quarterback in the draft is better than Mendoza. He's the second best quarterback more than likely in the draft. So the argument's there, but because he's represented by CAA, I just can't fathom anybody does this. But if they do, they should be let off the set, and you should never listen to another thing they say. I don't believe that's the case here. It does happen, but I can't fathom. What am I going to do by hyping up Ty Simpson if I'm represented by Creative Artists Agency? And if you're an NFL person, listen to just the people on Twitter or watch these shows, even our show. If my talk on here influences the Raiders who to draft, then their scouting department and their front office is horseshit. Not that I don't know what I'm doing. You got more people studying more. Rely on the people you employ. So while it's an easy way to go at somebody, to me, I can't fathom anybody worth their weight in good analysis would think that, man, my agent, my media agent, am I supposed to say, hey, man, anybody that gives a horrible horseshit take in media, if they're represented, and plenty of my guys have that are represented by the same guy, just like I have, go on there and say, well, I'm going to heighten him. This is going to send people to him. It's the most absurd thing ever. If you're doing it, let him off the set and fire his ass. If you're not, which I don't believe he is, happen to be represented by the same agent, what is Dan Orlovsky's take if they're both represented? What's it going to do for CA? What's it going to do for Ty Simpson? Somebody at the 21st pick's going to take him 20th instead of 21st? Stop it. If it is true, it's absurd. If it isn't true, to say that it's true is absurd. And if you're an analyst and you're going on television and this is your bending knee to your agency to give your guy pub, then you're a horseshit analyst. You just are, regardless of what you can do. Yeah. I don't believe that's the case with Dan. To me, once again, as I said leading off the show, we're looking for fights in the media now. They just like to rip a guy. Now, somebody says, hey, Sean's the best quarterback in this draft. Then you can go at him and say, you're out of your damn mind. He's been out of the league for 30 years. So it drives me crazy. But look at the life it's taken on.
Yeah.
And it's to me, Segs, I can't imagine anybody. Maybe they do, but if you're getting a cut of it and somebody finds out you're opening up a can of worms, they should never be allowed to give analysis again if they're pining and they're bending knee for their agency to help a guy. CAA is bigger than anybody that sits. CAA is bigger than Stephen A. Smith. They're bigger than Pat McAfee. They're bigger than you. They're bigger than me. They're bigger than Orlovsky. Yeah. They're bigger than all of them combined. That's and not that those guys aren't good and big, but CAA doesn't need us hawking for them to get Ty Simpson drafted one pick higher. And if they do, then their front office is horseshit too, meaning the NFL's, if that's what you're going on. My opinion on a player is why you drafted somebody. Unless I'm sitting in that room analyzing it with you, no, that ain't the way this works.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Something that...
Well, Seg, let me ask you this real quick. You're watching, take yourself out of the media for you're watching on TV. What purpose does it serve for me to pine? And I'm doing this on television. I say, hey, you know what? I tell you, some guy's a better player, and you find out we're with the same agency. but I've done my due diligence and study and watch tape every day. As a fan, are you really thinking, what am I going to do for CAA?
And here's the problem. Like, if it's someone like me who's just sitting and watching a show, I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm saying, okay, do I agree with this? Do I see his point? Even if I don't agree with it, okay, that makes some sense. Okay, I see what he's saying here based on this. And then I make a judgment based on that, on everything I see, I listen to, and never once in my mind is it like, oh, who's his agent? Wait, who's Ty Simpson's agent? Who's this? I don't care about any of that. You should be listening. And if you think he's crazy, it's okay to say he's crazy, but leave it at that. Like, it's okay, but to berate somebody and just continually bring him on your show, and you have him on your show all the time, and then to treat him like that and not give him a chance to answer is the big thing for me in this. Dan Orlowski can think what he wants.
Right.
And I think what I want, right? Pat think, yes, exactly. No reason to berate somebody unless they're saying something stupid like Emmanuel Acho, not too long ago or whoever it was comparing it to slavery. Was it Ryan Clark or whoever it was?
Just stupid. Then that belongs to you. Just a dumbass for saying that, right? Then that's just a hot take.
Difference there.
But Dan can't back off this. If you believe Simpson right now is a better player, stay with it unless you see something their rookie year. Then it may change. But for me, it's not that outlandish yet. What would be where you'd say, why is this? What does bother me about it is the thought that even though Mendoza, as Dan said, he's a good player, both can be true with Simpson and Mendoza, but that big throws in big moments. Dan and I would have a debate over that. The rest is opinion. Listen, he does a good job on television, but the debate over if he made enough good throws, the whole goal is to find a way to get your team to a national championship. Put it this way. If in fact Mendoza didn't make enough good throws, then there's about 150 quarterbacks in college football that were horseshit then.
Yeah. No,
then if that's the case, because the guy made clutch throws in every game at some point to keep drives alive and to continue. So he made enough big throws to warrant the Raiders thinking he's the best player in this draft and they're going to pick him. We'll see if that holds true on Sundays.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some ways. I'll save my question when it comes to Fernando Mendoza and stuff for tomorrow, so we can talk a discussion about him as a player. And something I've noticed that was a problem for somebody else a couple years ago, but isn't even being talked about with Fernando Mendoza. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I wrote that down. Real quick, we'll take our quick commercial now, Augusta Precious Metals, then we'll come back. We'll talk a Texans trade scenario, give our MLB predictions, and then something to do with airlines, Sean. And then we'll quick give a peek ahead to the Sweet 16 that starts tonight. But first, tell me about Augusta Precious Metals.
Augusta Precious Metals. Guys, when you're protecting what you've already earned, IRA, 401k, it's not taxed when it comes to gold and silver and precious metals. Let's discuss moving forward how you're going to protect what you've already earned. Protect what matters most with gold and silver. Augusta Precious Metals is your premier gold IRA company. Diversify, protect, preserve, hedge against inflation. That's what this does. Precious metals, they are tangible assets. Protect retirement savings. That retirement you've already earned, is cash doing that? Physical gold and silver, education first approach, no sales tactics at Augusta Precious Metals. That's why I was drawn to them. Drawn to them because they're not pressuring you and hammering you over the head with something. They're trying to educate you so you know what's best for you, your family, your peace of mind, your security now, later, and in the distant future. How much time you have, how much money you have. Precious Metals. It's your premier gold IRA company. That is Augusta Precious Metals. Secure your future with tangible assets. Visit SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Gold and silver continue to rise. And it's one of those, there's no guarantees in life or in sports or in money, but I'll be damned if gold and precious metals isn't about as close as you're going to get. Text Sean to 35052. Again, there's no guarantees, but there is a guarantee that you'll get educated on precious metals. Again, text Sean to 35052 or go to SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Free information, no obligation, guidance, education, and confidence. SeanBuysGold.com.
All right. Thank you to Augusta Precious Metals as always. All right. Before we get to our MLB predictions, it's MLB opening day. You kind of talked about it a little bit and hit it, but I want you to tell us why MLB is screwing up opening day every single year.
Well, Sigs, it's pretty simple. Well, the best opening day without question, is what in your mind? What's the best opening day in your mind?
Football, college football, like their first full opening day. Like that's the one that has me like, dude, it's college football Saturday. Let's go.
Not zero weekend, right?
Yes,
not zero weekend.
Right. That first weekend we have everybody playing. You've always got that great matchup at the time, on ABC at 7:00. But for me growing up, it was always baseball.
Bingo.
Until recently.
Well, why, Segs? Tell me why it was always growing up. You're in the tweener between younger and I'm a little old. You're in that age in between. So tell me why.
I was always that kid growing up. First of all, baseball was my first love. That was the game. I mean, I remember going to the last game at the old Comiskey Park when the new Comiskey Park was built right next to it. They were both standing. And then my grandpa took me to that game. And then the very first opening day at the new Comiskey Park, my grandpa took me to Cincinnati to experience the parade and everything when I was a younger kid. I always got out of school, never had to stay at school on opening day. It was always get out. We'd go to the Sox opening day a lot if it was if they were in Chicago, or we'd go to a Cubs game. I mean, it was like a national holiday. It was like the Super Bowl opening day was. Not anymore. Now I barely know when it is.
Right. Well, we had a question. You even asked me yesterday, Sean, is it today or tomorrow?
Right.
Wednesday night game. And you're as diehard a baseball fan as anybody analyst I've ever worked with, right? Or a show host. And same with me. And you know that. I think about people who own certain days.
Yeah.
The NBA owned Christmas Day until they did all the shit. And then the NFL jumped in and said, we're going to put a game on there or two. They owned it. And then they started with this pre-tournament, and I don't even know when that's opening either. Hockey kind of gets mixed in because football's on, yet hockey's fine, but they don't dominate their opening day.
Right.
Basketball, we mentioned the NBA. College hoops is the same way. There's the regular season kicks in.
Yeah.
Tournaments, pre-tournaments. And then you got football, the NFL, which has got their game on the Thursday night or whatever it is, and then popping into the first weekend. Then last night, you put it on Netflix. It's the Yankees and the Giants, two good teams. Yankees shut them out, and they're good. But to the point where the frustration of you got to go buy this and put it on. And I understand it's all a money grab. Sometimes maybe a money grab isn't what you need. Baseball should always dominate Memorial Day, Segs. Always. They should dominate that weekend, along with racing. We have, the Indy 500. And then July 4th should be baseball through and through. You should wake up in the morning and give me a 10 o'clock East, 11 o'clock start East Coast and roll all the way through. So baseball has the opportunity to have 3 or 4 basically open. Hell, you can even though Labor Day football season started, you're still in some baseball. You could actually dominate that day too. They'd missed the boat because it used to be lineup, parade in Cincinnati, big red machine, even post big red machine for you. But you parade 12:10 Eastern, 11:10, 9 o'clock on Pacific. You're waking up with coffee and your ass is watching baseball. And like you, Segs, opening day in person was more education than any class could have ever taught me in school. And my parents made sure I knew. And we went and had fun. Oh, I missed school. Oh, well, didn't care. What's that one day going to do in the big scheme? But I don't remember my first day of school, but I sure as shit remember watching my first baseball game. And in person. And at that point in time, the businessman special, and you could get in for $3 and sit in the lower level at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, lower level, go to batting practice. And it was the greatest day of your frigging life.
People don't realize, I remember going to kids as a game. You get your tickets for, however much, very cheap, sit in the outfield. My grandpa would my grandma would come. she'd make fried chicken, and you could bring it in the stadium. You could literally bring
your own
everything
drink.
you wanted.
Lower level above the Jack Murphy Stadium, and was Qualcomm, had that big left field wall, Segs. But used to go there and go to batting practice, and I'm telling you right now, it was $2 to $2.50 to sit there, and those were better seats than sitting behind home plate. And you'd go there, and it was the greatest thing. It'd be a little hot, but it would be awesome. And I remember those opening days more. We've missed it. Parade in Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Reds, like the Dallas Cowboys and like the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving Day, should always open the season. Always. And then you dominate days. I think about this every year. Boom, we got that game. Then all of a sudden, after that standalone game where it's your game, when that's over or late, boom, now we go, there's 3 other day games. Then you got the 2 o'clock window, then the 4:30 window, then the 6 window. And then you put 2 or 1 big game, Red Sox, Yankees, whoever it is, at night. I don't care who it is, Dodgers, it doesn't matter. Give me a big one at night. That's not how you open up on the day before. That's how you cap off a West Coast game at night. Everybody sees it in Big Mark. Great. But you dominate day baseball. Kids should be out of school today. I mean, I'm just being serious. I don't care if you're in the 6th grade unless you got to show up for your game, but it's a Thursday. It's not Friday. Most of those games are played on Fridays a lot of times. Some you play on Thursday. So I would just, to me, you miss the opportunity of that 7th grader to understand what it's like. Oh, opening day was last night. If you don't know when opening day is, then it's not opening day.
Right.
Baseball, with all this, we're excited and pumped up. And I know it's one day, it's not that big a deal, but to me, there's certain things of tradition. What would the world do if the Dallas, some would love it, but if the Dallas Cowboys, wouldn't you feel weird if the Cowboys weren't playing on Thanksgiving Day? Even though we crave other games, it's a tradition. We do that.
Even the Detroit Lions, who sucked for how many years, were always on Thanksgiving, and you always expected the Lions to be on Thanksgiving.
And now we've added another game and a 4th game, whatever it is. But baseball has the opportunity, Segs, to dominate opening day better than any sport. But they lost it, even though it was the Yankees and Giants, big markets on either side of the country. You miss the opportunity for us to wake up and say, this tradition continues, like Augusta. This tradition needs to continue. Get back to where the Reds open up, and if you're on the West Coast, you're eating breakfast and watching baseball. It replaces your news and morning shows. Get to it. I hate it. I just do, because, opening day was opening day wasn't. The Yankees, just like I couldn't stand it when they opened in Mexico on opening day. It's not their opening day, it's ours. Not that it's bad. The ball's flying and you win 19-17. I want it in Cincinnati. You change stadiums. It's no longer Riverfront Stadium and a big old brick and mortar facility, but it is the Reds. The parade, that's where Major League Baseball, and you should have everybody should be on site. You should have your studio crews on site, and you should make it bigger than life. But now, do you have Netflix? Do you not? Do you do this? I just hate it, because now we don't really have a true opening day anywhere. But I treat today as opening day. Last night was just a foregone conclusion. We need opening day back. And I know it's not that big a deal, but it is to me, because certain things are tradition. The azaleas, can you imagine if the azaleas weren't in bloom at Augusta? I know that's part. That we this in Augusta. Just like the Cincinnati Redlegs, the Cincinnati Reds should be opening the season with a parade, and let's play them first.
Yes, 100%. All right, well, with it being our MLB opening day, let's make some predictions. Let's start with you, Sean. We'll run through yours. We're going to go NLCS, ALCS, World Series. We're going to go NL, AL MVPs, NL, AL Cy Youngs, and then we'll make one bold prediction for the season. So you go ahead and run with yours.
Okay. You want them all, Segs?
Yep.
Roll through them all. Okay. All right. As far as my NLCS, I got Dodgers over, Dodgers over Phillies. Segs.
Phillies, yep.
I'm going to tell you what, the second team in the National League is hard for me to choose. I don't know.
It really is.
The Milwaukee Brewers, the Phillies,
I went through
the Mets are right. The Mets are. I think the Mets are the betting favorite outside the Dodgers to win. Yeah. Okay, but I mean to be in the to have a chance to be in the World Series. But I chose a little and Philadelphia. They have big time players and health, all that. But I went with Philly. Maybe it's what I want to see in the American League. Just to piss you off. Well, not really, but I chose the Mariners over the Red Sox because I think the Red Sox are going to be better than people think this year, Segs. Now, the Toronto Blue Jays and the Yankees, and there's a lot of good American League teams. I mean, but I'm going to go with the Red Sox as long as their pitching can hold up. I think the Red Sox, and they've got some dynamic players, everyday players. I wish Bregman was back, but they'll find a way. And then I have the Dodgers and the Mariners in the World Series, and I got the Mariners beating the Dodgers. I don't think they're winning 3 in a row, Segs. It's so hard to win 2, and to get a third one right, it would be their third one. I think that's very difficult to do. Give me the Mariners over the Dodgers in the World Series. Cy Youngs, I got Skubal and Paul Skeens. What a reach. I'm not sure yet, depending on how either one, the Pirates, who are, I think, going to be better this year, Segs. Take the over on the Pirates wins and losses. Obviously, adding, what the Detroit Tigers have added this offseason. I'll actually be in Detroit for a 3-game series. The Red Sox in early May. I've never been to that ballpark to watch them play. Real bold by me, Segs, to pick Skeens and Skubal as the Cy Young
Mine aren't
winners.
too far off.
but and Segs and I put these down without conferring over who each one was going to choose. If either one of those teams goes sideways and plays bad baseball, don't be surprised if one of those two move in a trade, meaning Skubal or Skeens, depending on. I know it'd be. What do you mean? We've seen crazy things like that happen if you go to tank, if somebody's tanking. In the MVP, I took Ohtani. We should have said you got to pick an MVP not named Ohtani. That's too easy. And I think the best player, and I know Aaron Judge, we put him in there, and he's a great captain. I'm a huge fan. I can make the argument that the best player in baseball not named Shohei Ohtani is the guy who plays in Kansas City. I got Witt as the American League MVP, and I think he's that good. I just do. If he was playing in New York, you wouldn't be able to quit talking about him, and we're still talking about him in a smaller market. And then my bold prediction, Sakes, is the Red Sox win the division. Mike Trout plays 150 games, or not only wins the division, but the Red Sox win the division and may end up going to the World Series. That's a bold prediction. I don't think it's going to happen. Mike Trout plays 150 games and wins the MVP again. That's the bold prediction that probably isn't going to happen, but I would love to see happen. How's that?
Yeah, and it's more so the fact of him playing 150 games. That's the bold prediction.
Yeah, if he plays 150 games, he's probably winning the MVP.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. For my predictions, I'll start in the NLCS. I have the Dodgers over the Mets. I really love what the Mets have done, bringing in Bichette to add to Lindor, Luis Robert. They brought in, I'm going to blank on the other guy they brought in. Marcus Semien in a trade. So that with their pitching, signed Devin Williams to be their closer. They are loaded on this roster. Can they stay healthy? I think if they stay healthy, they'll push the Dodgers. So I have the Dodgers still the best team in the NL. You add Kyle Tucker to that offense, it's not fair. It's just not fair. The ALCS, I have the Mariners over the Blue Jays. I think they're the two best teams collectively. Each added some pieces to their team. I think Dylan Cecil helped Toronto stabilize the rotation even more. He's always out there. He's always pitching. That will help them deal with some injuries. And then my World Series, I mean, the Dodgers are just the Dodgers. They are the Yankees from, 25 years ago, where it's just like they don't have a single weakness. They gave Roki Sasaki how much money to come over from Japan? He sucks right now, and it doesn't even bother them. That's how good the Dodgers are, whereas 98% of other teams in the league, if you gave somebody that money and you depended on them like that, it would destroy your season, him sucking like he did in spring training. I mean, he wasn't getting outs in games this spring training, so he's really struggling. So
their second 9 may be able to make the playoffs, Eggs. And actually, their rotation of like 6 through 9 of starting pitching.
Yeah,
they may be able to find their way into a wild card without their starters. Honestly, God. And I chose I chose stuff that may be a little different because it would have been too obvious for me to choose everything. Because if we look at it, you and I would have chose a lot of the same things.
Right.
Well, it's pretty obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. NL, AL, MVP, Shohei. It's just too easy. I mean, he's healthy and is going to pitch a full season. I mean, if he stays healthy, it's over. There's no chance he's not the MVP. And then Bobby Witt Jr., I'm with you there. He just so underrated because he plays in Kansas City and we don't talk about him. He's going to be on a not very good team, but I still think he'll have a big enough season to win MVP. I also have Paul Skeens is the NL Cy Young. Your / my old Garrett Crochet, I think he wins the Cy Young. So
and I'm
dominant.
okay with that, Segs.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
That would help your Red Sox
You
make
ain't lying.
the playoffs and hopefully go further. And then my bold prediction is a Padres fall off. I don't think they're going to be the team that everybody thinks they're going to be. We continually see this team make the playoffs, but then kind of, fall apart there. I think they fall apart earlier this year, and I think Fernando Tatis is traded. It's been whispered about, but I think he will be the biggest name to move come the trade deadline. So
two things. One I want to see, and one I don't want to see, but we may see, Segs, in that real quick. The one I don't want to see, but we may see, is this year the Astros miss the playoffs.
mm-hmm.
Is this
Mariners very good? Texas is better. I think.
Let's see. The Astros were the wild card. We're one of the last wild card. I'm saying we're the flagship.
They were one of them. I can't remember which one.
Yeah,
but they were one of them.
This may be the year because eventually that is going to happen.
Yeah.
Is this the year? No Fromber.
Right.
The question is, and they've had enough where like all the guys moving on. Can you withstand this? Yet it still is the Astros, and they have cornered the market on how to make the playoffs. But that one I don't want to see, but you may. And lastly, what I do want to see, Segs, which is one more step in this, will we see a time when Shohei Ohtani wins the Cy Young Award and MVP? Not because he was just a pitcher and he won the MVP. He won the Cy Young based on his pitching and won the MVP based on his hitting.
Yeah.
Now, wouldn't that be something? And you know what? You can see that. Yeah. I can see that happening. That's something I wouldn't mind seeing because that may be one of the great. We've seen Verlander and other guys do it, Vida Blue, and a few others along the way. But have we ever seen a guy do it where he's done both? That answer's no, because it just doesn't happen. But he's capable of dominating both. He can win 18 games as a pitcher and have a 2.2 ERA, and he can also win the MVP as a hitter, which we see every year. He's now Mike Trout on steroids, even though he's not on steroids. So there you go.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun baseball season. I have my what is it, extra innings package or whatever they call their package.
MLB,
that I can watch all the
MLB extra innings.
Whatever it's called. I can watch any game I want. Sadly, I can't. This is how stupid it is. I can't watch the White Sox where I normally will sit and watch games because I don't have a certain TV streaming platform. I won't pay the $30 a month to get the Bulls suck. The White Sox aren't going to be good, but I can go to where we have our normal cable and I can watch the White Sox there.
But it does suck, and it's the principle over $30 a month, right, Segs?
Yeah, just to watch Bulls and Sox. That's it.
Right.
Not the Bears, not the Cubs, not the Blackhawks, just the Bulls and the Sox. And it's all Jerry Reinsdorf owned, which don't even get me started on Jerry Reinsdorf.
We do know that the Super Bowl is going to be streamed eventually, Segs. You're going to have to pay to watch the Super Bowl. That's coming, no doubt.
Yeah. I'm shocked it hasn't just been pay-per-view for a long time.
Agreed.
Like WrestleMania and that stuff. It's always been pay-per-view. It feels like that's coming or UFC. You always had to buy the pay-per-views. It feels like that's coming for the Super Bowl, and they'll still get, even just more money. So those are our MLB predictions for 2026. We'll keep track, keep those graphics and see who we'll post them to our Twitter after the show. And you guys can make fun of us, tell us how we're dumb, tell us how we're brilliant, because we're both brilliant.
The first time.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we are brilliant. Yep. Just ask us.
100%. All right, moving on to the NFL. We talked about this yesterday. I kind of teased it that I had a Texans trade idea I wanted to throw at you. So put your GM hat on for the Houston Texans. Or no, just would you do this if you're, what's his name? The GM there?
Nick Caserio.
Caserio. There you go.
I need a cigar for this thing?
Yes, you need a cigar for this.
All
right. Houston Texans it's pick 12, let's say, in the NFL draft right now. The Dallas Cowboys are on the clock. You've seen what's happened. The guy you're looking at is falling. You call, I can't remember who has pick 13. It might be the Miami Dolphins. And you tell them, hey, I want pick 13. I will give you No, it's the Los Angeles Rams. I will give you number 28.
Rams hate picks.
They do. They do. I'll give you number 28 and 38, which we have this year. I want to move up to 13. First of all, if you're the Texans, would you do that deal if it meant now you're giving up 2 picks, but you're getting 1 higher, and to add to C.J. Stroud and the Texans offense, you get Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, who ran sub 4.4, who is a physical freak, who you can at Oregon. I had the numbers and I can't find them, but he lined up outside a handful of times. He lined up in the slot a lot.
He's the hybrid tight end everybody wants, Segs. That type of player.
He's a slightly smaller Colson Loveland. Like the Bears used Loveland in different ways last year. They had him playing wide in the slot and in line. I don't know that he's quite the blocker of Loveland, but or even a Tyler Warren last year. But would you give up 28 and 38 to move anywhere from 13 to 15? Because that's where the trade chart says it's a pretty even, fair deal.
I was going to say, so that's that value with 28.
Yes, that's the value there. Yes. So even if you got to give up a 4th next year or a 5th next year, and you say, we'll give you all that to move up to get Kenyon Sadiq, would you do that if you're the Houston Texans GM to get CJ Stroud another weapon? Because you don't know how the young receivers are going to continue to develop. You hope they're good. You don't know how Tank Dell returns. You know you have Nico Collins, who's really good. You have a good tight end in Dalton Schultz or Dalton Schultz.
Schultz, yeah, it's Dalton Schultz, yeah.
But you add Sadiq, who gives you a different type of tight end than Schultz. Would you do that deal?
Absolutely, and I'm going to tell you why. At 28, aren't you semi-grab bagging, Segs? If you're in the first round, you really don't know what's going to be available, right? Not that you're not going to get a good player, but you're more picking on this guy's a good player, first-round pick. But hell, the 38th pick ended up being better than the 28th pick, right? Could be. Happened a million times. So, in truth, as you go through it, if you're the Texans sitting at 28 now, you absolutely have no idea. It could be the 24th best player on the board on your board. But when you know there's a guy you love, it goes back to my like-love theory. Says I never draft a guy high that I like, unless it's a bonus pick. I always want to get the guy I love. So if you're trading those two, and it's you've looked at the pie chart that says it's equal value to that, and the Rams are willing to do it, or in that 13 to 15 range, you've targeted a guy you love. You ain't getting him that far down, so you're going to have to go up and get him. And you know what he's going to do. You've not only got a player you love, but you're drafting what you would consider the best available at that time for you. Of course I'd do it, because if there is a perceived weakness they got a little better in the passing game with it, but of dominance at the position, this guy's just a bigger freak show than Dalton Schultz's athleticism will never touch the kid at Oregon right now. He won't.
Not close.
So if you're asking me if it's worth it, absolutely, because another part of this, Segs, is how long does your defensive window stay this good? Because you're about to give Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud, between the two of them, a yearly salary of what, Segs? $100 million? Yep. Isn't that what it's going to come out to? I'm talking about combined, somewhere in that
combined it'll be
range,
over $100 million.
Right. So when you do that, inevitably, what has to happen? Other guys are going to, we see it, are going to have to go at some point in the next couple of years. So you get a great rookie tight end under a rookie wage scale. You've given up what is the hope picks at 28, 38, which is, you know, what this kid should bring to the table in that offense. You'd have to ask me one time, if I was the Texans, should you make that pick? The answer is absolutely. You go do that. If you're the Rams, all you've done is arm yourself with more assets to go get you another veteran player a year from now. In truth, if that's who it is, you said the Rams are at 13, right, Segs? So if it was the Rams or at 14, whoever it is, I would absolutely do it because of perceived where there's room to elevate. Yes, you could do it at wide receiver, but I thought at first you were going to say trade up to go get our guy at SC, and Mekhi Lemon. But in considering what this guy can do, the ability to move him out and create what we're begging for on offense is the only thing you want. Create mismatches so you get to dictate the flow. I want mismatches and give me an advantage. And if you flex him out, you take if it's a big guy out of the box, now you can still run the football effectively. If you put a small guy on him, then he's too physical for the small guy to cover, right? So the advantages that a guy like that, those tight ends, you're talking about Loveland, Bowers, that those guys give you is through the roof. I would absolutely do it because now I'm going for a targeted guy who's the best available when I go get him, and it's somebody we need. Where at 28 and 38, I'm kind of at the mercy of what you take in front of me, and I'm getting hope as opposed to you feel like you know what the tight end at Oregon is going to bring to the table, especially with a good quarterback and a run game now that can elevate to the next level and an offensive line that's improved. I would take that. If the Rams called me on that, I'd do it. They wouldn't finish their sentence by the time I said, we will make that trade. You can have 28 and 38. We want the 13th pick. Boom, I'm in.
Yeah, and if you're one of those, Texans fans that doesn't like trading multiple picks, even to move up into the first round, feel okay about it because you still have pick 59 and you still have pick 69. So you have multiple picks there at the end of the second and early third.
And the truth
still
is,
get two other good players.
You bring him in, he's on the field. You're running him out there immediately. I mean, he's starting. I don't know what the 38 and okay, so if you draft a guy with a 38th pick, which is the sixth pick of the second round, some think it's a first rounder, and you're basically in some people's books, it's like a first rounder and a half because you're getting a guy. But Shakes, considering what you're trying to do, and I've listened to the talk here, that a weakness or something that hasn't elevated to the top of the class is the tight end position for the Texans. It's just never been a dominant position over the last 5-6 since I've lived in Houston. How's that?
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for you to go, and you've now created more depth at the position. You can line up with 2 and 3 tight ends. I would do it in a heartbeat. The question is, will the people that are sitting there do it? If you're a team that's pretty good and you want assets, yeah, I do it. If I'm the Texans, it's a no-brainer. And assuming that guy, that you're around the 10th pick, Stegs, it's a draft day move, 10 goes, and you're saying, man, we're 4 picks away from this or 3 picks away. I would absolutely do it. Hell, I wouldn't mind calling him now and trying to get a pre-draft deal done with that, see if you can get him. But, if you're the Texans, that's one where you just have completely elevated because I think this guy's not just a combine freak, Segs. I think he's a production freak. At least he's got that ability to be that guy.
Yeah, and I hadn't looked at their depth chart in a minute since we've really talked about them, especially when it comes to the offensive line. We know they have Dalton Schultz. We know they drafted Cade Stover, who was C.J. Stroud's tight end at Ohio State. They got him.
Better blocker than Schultz is, more committed blocker.
Yes, yeah. More of a kind of a middle guy where he can block and do a little bit of receiving. He could do a little bit of both. But then they did go out and sign Foster Moreau, who is a straight blocker. And so you have 3 tight ends on your roster. Would you carry 4? I'm not sure. So I don't know how that would affect the trade idea. But if I'm the Texans, I'm looking at ways to get C.J. Stroud better. And having a guy like Kenyon Sadiq on my team changes a lot of things for C.J. Stroud.
Go back to New England when Gronkowski, and while he was a great player, not exactly the top shelf human being, but when they had Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, and they had a third tight end, and it changed depending on the year, right?
Yeah.
But when you had those two on the field at the same time, Gronk could block and run routes, and Hernandez was so good at Segs. There was times when he was in there, if you remember, it didn't happen a lot, but they lined up Aaron Hernandez in the pistol I-back position and tossed him the ball from the quarterback position. Mm-hmm. This is a tight end. So the versatility he brought and Gronkowski brought, and the only reason I'm just referring to on the field football, was devastating to have to defend for defenses. Because then you say, how? Well, you can motion him out, and if somebody runs with him, a linebacker, they ain't no linebacker covering that guy in space, and you sure as heck weren't covering Gronkowski. So anytime I can create those mismatches I want to, and say, I don't care if I have 4. Guess what? Then somebody can trade or I can cut one, whatever. Yeah. I always say this. Players are looking for reasons where the organization doesn't want to move them. Organizations are always looking for a reason to better the position in the team. And if they're not, then they're going to stay stagnant anyway. This is a way for the Texans to elevate their football team. And if they're not thinking like that, then they will be eliminated in January again. They have to think forward and upward thinking, and that's position is one of them.
Yeah, so we'll see if that's even an option for the Houston Texans if they do look to trade up with the amount of picks. Having 4 picks in the top 69, that's a true asset.
Artillery, brother.
You can
Major
move
artillery.
around and do a lot of different things.
And I would expect that they may think about doing that, Segs, whether it's what you said or somewhere else. I don't think they're just going to stand pat in the draft. Some movement because they got assets. Before you get to your last thing, Segs, did we have something about? Did Acho chime in on this Arlovsky thing? I don't mean to go back, but it was on my mind.
Yeah, he did.
Or you want to save it, or is it relevant? Because I did not see what he said about it.
I honestly didn't see it either. I didn't realize he had. I don't follow Emmanuel Acho and what he's got.
I don't
to
either.
say.
So
I don't think it's relevant. I think we hit what we needed to hit on.
Oh, so is it just more chatter?
Yeah, just more talk.
Of analysts fighting.
Just more talk. Him interjecting himself into it. Trying to make himself part of it. Hey,
I think RG3 did too. Wasn't RG3 the CAA guy originally?
Yeah, he was the guy that he was on a walk while he was doing it. I'm pretty sure I saw the video. I didn't listen to it because he's another guy. But yeah, just the whole let's fight, let's make it a thing. And so it's big for both of us. And then you got guys trying to jump in to be like, wait, I want part of this too.
I want part of that viral video.
Yeah.
We'll pass. Thanks.
Yeah. We just like to bring it up to be like, you guys look stupid. You look stupid with the dumb shit they say. All right, real quick before we get out of here. I don't know if you saw this. United Airlines is offering a new thing where you can basically buy the whole row. They will give you, you buy the row. They will give you a mattress pad. They will give you foot things that come up now. You can basically buy a bed, or you could just buy enough room to just kind of lay down and be comfortable. You see there, it's a family. Is this something you would consider, or would you look at people who do this, especially on like let's say a 2-hour flight or a 2.5-hour flight, not a long flight. Let's put it that way. Would you look down on somebody if they're buying the whole row to sprawl out, get a bed on a 2-hour flight? What do you think about this from United?
I like it. And I'm not, my disdain for flying now because COVID, and when you're sitting down there, forget when I'm leaning against it, and the fraud that is COVID. Anybody's got a problem with it. It is a fraud. It was I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And people to make you feel when that happened like you were the worst of the worst if you weren't wearing a mask over your nose. Fuck you.
Right.
And I will never. You can do whatever you want. I'm never walking into a grocery store again because you guys have created this nonsense and people making. You see the videos of guys. Hey, put your masks on. It's some political thing. The second the camera's off and somebody's got to hit you, they take them off. They were a fraud from the beginning, and Fauci should be in jail. That's beside the point. With this, but my disdain for that flying. I know that flight attendants had a rough time, but I can remember I was asleep on 6. I was so exhausted, and it was like touching my nose here, but wasn't over it. She woke me up to tell me, the flight attendant, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. So I drive across the country now unless I absolutely have to. How many times you sat next to the guy who just smells like ass?
Oh, yeah.
How many times? And it's a 2-hour. If you got the money and you want to ball hog the row and you paid for it, fine. Have at it. Then if somebody comes on and says, well, that seat's empty, can I have it? Yeah, it'll cost you $500. It's what it costs me. Listen, if I'm ball hogging 2 extra seats to lay down and you don't like it, I paid for it. That's the way it works. Now, my dumb ass would be sensitive and say, oh, okay, come on, sit here. No, I'm not going to charge you. But have you had that guy that has the Zackleys? And it's, you know what the Zackleys are, right, Sig?
Yes.
The breath smells exactly like that ass. Right. Yep. And I don't mean it mean, or the person who's constantly talking, or you're reading a book, you got a headset on and they want to talk. And I'm not saying that I get it, but if you want to lay down and you got the money and you want to ball hog a row. I don't have any problem with it. Now, I don't know the reason why on a 2-hour flight I would want to do that. By the time you're up and down, it's gone. You're there. But create more space. Anytime I can create more leg space, I'm in. It's also the airlines crying out for knowing they're reeling right now and they need something else to make profit. They're going to charge you out the ass, I'm sure. I got no issue with it, Sags. I don't, because you're paying for it. Just like anything else, you want to pay for first class and somebody else doesn't, then you get the privilege of sitting up in first class. It just costs you more money. With this, I'm not always comfortable, and I've been in middle seats, and there can be somebody that's 4'8" sitting next to me, and they will not, they're not moving. Even if and that's they paid for that seat, have at it. I'm okay with it. It's just, and it looks kind of comfortable to me. I get the ball hog a row without sitting next to somebody at 6 in the morning. It's a 4-hour flight. I'm okay with it. Don't have a problem with it. I don't care much for the airlines these days and the lines and all that. But as far as that goes, I don't have a problem paying for it. And I don't have a problem if somebody else does. Now, the piss off is you get on and you're sitting in the middle seat and there's that one open. You're like, man, I'd like to sit there. Sorry, pal. You didn't pay for this seat. I did. Yeah. Well, there's only one of you. Good. I'm sprawling out.
I'm going to lay down at some point.
Dude, this is going to cause, I'll tell you what, it's going to cause fights. Somebody's going to come on and say, look at this asshole ball hogging a rope. He paid for it. I don't care if he paid for it. That seat's open. See what I'm saying? On delays or overbooked flights, we're back. There are going to be some fist fights on there. We already see those. But if I paid for it, if you want to pay for it, have at it, man. You can ball hog all 3 seats. Nothing different from me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like it. I like it, especially like if you have a family, or, it's a husband and wife and a small child, like having that ability to even lay down gives the child so much more room to maneuver and keeps them chill. I mean, you're already buying 3 seats. Why not buy this package on top of it if it costs a little bit more or whatever? I don't know exactly how that'll work, but this will help so many kids be more comfortable.
And it's also the perfect flight if you got money. Leaving Vegas, you're exhausted, you're hungover, you're miserable, and you're going on a flight back to the East Coast. You're like, no. I want the whole row because I'm sleeping the whole way, and I don't care. Now somebody can't get. That's exactly right, no doubt.
All right, well, that'll do it for today. You got any? You think any big upsets? You got any of the 1 seeds losing? Their
walk me through who the one. I looked at my bracket. I got 11 to 16 teams. Right.
Yeah, you got Michigan playing Alabama.
Dangerous, but Michigan wins.
You've got Arizona playing Arkansas,
which was supposed to be Gonzaga at this point. If Gonzaga would have won, if the higher seed wins, right? Segs, if was this Zags or was it the next round? I can't even remember.
That would be next round.
Oh, the next round. Okay. To get to the 4, that would be on the Saturday game, right? If they were playing. Give me. I think this is a dangerous game for the University of Arizona. I don't think they're getting to the Final Four as good as they are, and Arkansas poses a problem. Keep an eye on that one. That may be a huge upset.
And then Duke St. John's.
Another one. I almost if Duke plays like they have the first 2 rounds where they haven't played a complete game yet, St. John's is going to beat them, even though I have Duke in the final.
And then your other team, the team that you love to root for, you love their coach. Does Houston take care of business against a huge Illinois team with a ton of size, and they can shoot it when they're hot? Does Houston beat Illinois?
I don't ever like to say to keep an eye on beyond the arc percentage in this game, Segs. What's cost Houston trouble late in tournaments, Sweet 16 and in, is knocking down clutch shots at the right moment. And you know what I'm saying? Keep an eye on that. And they got to contest free throws. But you're right, size was. I'm taking Houston to get by this, but it will be a late 4th quarter. When I say 4th quarter, a late second half win. I got Houston moving on. I got Houston in the Final Four as well.
All right. Yeah. Tonight we get first off Texas versus Purdue. Then we get Iowa, Nebraska. Then it's Arkansas, Arizona. And then the late game, the 9:05 Central tip is Illinois and Houston. So
and remember, it's a home game at the Toyota Center. Tonight. So Houston's playing a home game tonight, which is a big thing for them.
That is huge for it's tough. Illinois does travel well, so we'll see how many tickets they were able to snag down there. All right, we'll come back tomorrow. I got that Fernando Mendoza talk I want to talk about. We'll break down, look at all the games that happened tonight and look ahead to the other Sweet 16s and the possible Elite 8 matchups. And we'll just continue to give you the most pressing news in the sports world. And if we find something stupid outside of the sports world or inside the sports world, we'll tell you why it's stupid, because there's a lot of stupidity out there. I got stuck in one of those video loops where you're just watching videos and it was like people interacting with police officers or people in airports. And I'm just like, this person's a dumbass. And then the next video, yeah, this person's a dumbass too. Like, there are so many stupid people in this world.
And there's dumbass judges who just watch people kill people,
faster.
and then they just let them out on the streets too. We got that dumbass stuff too. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Or you could be the Chicago mayor, where Chicago just had a young 20-year-old student at Loyola University get shot and killed for no reason. She was just walking on the lakefront on a morning walk, got killed by an illegal alien. And then you have the Chicago mayor who won't even talk about it in a press conference. And then he does a press conference yesterday, a few days after it, where they named a garbage truck Abolish ICE. And he did a big press conference with it while he has Chicago natives being murdered.
At what point do we start to look at the radical and start treating it like you did people illegal, that we start getting rid of them? They're building, radical groups. We just let them form in areas like Plano, Texas and Utah and just roll. You've seen it, Chicago rolling in. But Michigan. It's not the good people. I'm talking about the radicals that are there they're not here to fit in. They're here to take over. You better stop it now, because it's going to grow like a weed. I'm just telling you.
Yep.
Better now.
100%. All right. Thank you for watching Unpaved, the flagship show of the Houston Texans, who may trade for Kenyon Sadiq. If they do, you heard it here with Sean and I first. And USC football. They're in spring practice right now. Get over to YouTube at Unpaved Sean Salisbury. Like and subscribe. Get all the shorts, the videos, the full-length videos of the show there. Follow Sean at Sean Unfiltered, myself at Adam G. Sager. Thanks to Bailey for all the highlights you see here, all the graphics, everything makes us look and sound great every day. Laura, who's posting a lot of those social media videos on TikTok, Twitter, and such, or X, I guess you call it, and all our viewers and listeners. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Peace.
Unpaved, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.